afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jim Judkins, the Base Civil Engineer at Edwards Air Force Base. It's my honor to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for this event today. But before we begin the ceremony itself, I have no fewer than 6 public service announcements. Did I get that right? First one is, and I learned this at the Academy, no plan survives initial contact with the enemy, and that applies to ribbon cutting ceremony. So I'll be calling it audible somewhere in the script. Number 2, emergency services excluded. If you happen to have a device that either rings, chirps, buzz, plays music, usually at the most inopportune time, please silence it right now. Number 3, the bus pickup point is right where they dropped you off over there. Buses will begin returning to the parking lot at 1500, that's 3 p.m., and will continue circling until everybody's been returned to the parking lot. If you have not had a chance to partake of the food back in the back, it will remain available after the ceremony, so I suggest you pick up a snack on your way back to the bus. This is an outdoor event for our civilian. This is really serious. This is an outdoor event. For our civilian guests, that means that military personnel in uniform will continue to wear their covers, that's a hat, and stand and salute during the playing of the national anthem. For our civilian guests, you are asked to stand during the playing of the national anthem, and if you wish, place your right hand over your heart. Finally, you will probably want to know more about this project, so after you've picked up your snack and on your way to the bus, take a look at the storyboards that are in the back of the tent. So now it's time to begin the ceremony. Good afternoon, and on behalf of Brigadier General Matthew Higer, Commander of the 412th Test Wing at Edwards Air Force Base, welcome to the Edwards Solar Ribbon Cutting Ceremony. The honored guests at today's ceremony, and please hold your applause until the end, are Mr. Jake Lopez, Field Representative, representing Speaker of the House, the Honorable Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Dominic Hayden, Field Representative, representing California State Senator Shannon Grove. The sovereign nations of the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians and the Tejon Tribe. Colonel James Doyle, Mobilization Assistant to the Air Force Test Center Commander, Major General Durteen. Brigadier General Matthew Higer, Commander of the 412th Test Wing, and Command Chief Master Sergeant Denisha Ward Swanigan, 412th Test Wing. Our distinguished visitors for today are, and again, please hold your applause until the end, Mr. Andrew Mayock, the Federal Chief Sustainability Officer, White House Council on Environmental Quality. Ms. Nancy Balkus, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Environment, Safety, and Infrastructure. Mr. Jim Pagano, Chief Executive Officer, Terra-Gen LLC. Mr. Dan Johnson, President and CEO of Mortenson, and Brigadier General William Kale, Commander of the Air Force Civil Engineer Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors and the playing of the national anthem. Present the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Now, you probably expect me to begin introducing the honored speakers. I'm not going to do that. We have a treat for you. So if you would, please look to the video screen for a great video put on by Terra-Gen. So Simon, over to you.
The Edward Sanborn Solar Storage Project is located in Kern County, Southern California. The Edward Sanborn Solar Storage Project is located in Kern County, Southern California. It is one of the largest projects of its type in the country. It can produce up to 1,300 megawatts of energy onto the grid. This includes 807 megawatts of solar and 971 megawatts of energy storage. It has nearly 2 million solar panels made by First Solar. Terra-Gen is an independent power producer. It develops, finances, constructs and operates renewable energy projects in North America. It developed the largest wind farm in the nation, the Alto Wind Energy Center, and is now completing construction, one of the largest solar storage projects in the country. The Edward Sanborn Solar Storage Project is located in northeast of Los Angeles. It's located on a mixture of private land and also federal land on Edwards Air Force Base. It can produce up to 1,300 megawatts of energy onto the grid, a mixture of solar and storage. Edward Sanborn location, because it's one of the sunniest locations in the nation, and so it can produce more power more cheaply than other locations, which gives benefits to the people who are buying the power from us.
This module here works 5 times faster in installing, so it's cost efficient. They vary from 445 watts to 460 watts.
So some of the benefits of the project: there's a large amount of energy storage, which is providing power later into the evening when it's needed most. There were over 1,000 workers building the project over 2 years. And once it's operational, it'll produce over $100 million in the first 20 years in property taxes alone.
2 years ago, when we knew that we were going to start building this project, one thing that we took a look at and we understood was this is going to be our largest self-perform workforce ever for Mortenson. So that means that, you know, we're going to employ the iron workers, the electricians, the operators, and so forth, and they're all going to come as, you know, skilled tradespersons from the local unions. But we really wanted to make sure that we were able to successfully onboard them into kind of, you know, the Mortenson team, the Edwards and Sanborn team, and make sure that culturally we were all set and aligned.
If you look around you, we have the wind farms, we have other solar, so the interconnection makes it very easy for us to work with. And also, we are working around Mojave, Lancaster, and Rosemont. So what we're doing is giving economically, we are giving a lot of jobs to a lot of folks that are around this area. And also, by building more of these out here, we are trying to avoid blackouts and brownouts in this area also. Leasing with Edwards, and we work closely with the Air Force. Everything we do, everything is done very closely with them, and we have built a very good relationship with the base and pretty much have worked very close in achieving to get to this point, to this milestone of completing one of the largest projects here in the United States.
A lot of the new technology that we have constructed on this project, it's the very first time that these technologies are interacting with each other. So it is not only the largest, but it also is extremely innovative. Overall, it's been an awesome partnership with the local unions and working with our craft workforce. It's been a great opportunity to, you know, not only build a successful project, but also, you know, to invest in our communities.
This industry for the last 12 years has provided for myself and my families, and it's good to see that it has provided for them, and then for all those that are new coming into this industry. And it's a very growing industry, and it's one that is going to provide for us for many, many years to come.
Our first speaker is Mr. Andrew Mayock. He is the Federal Chief Sustainability Officer, White House Council on Environmental Quality. Mr. Mayock leads efforts to improve the sustainability of the federal government by helping federal agencies prepare for and respond to the impact of climate change on their operations and services. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mayock to the podium.
Thank you so much. Thank you, distinguished guests. Thank you, other guests who have joined us. Thanks, deep thanks to all the people who put in all the hours over all the years to make what's behind us and around us possible. I want to, in my brief remarks, touch on three quick things. 1, leadership, 2, partnership, and 3, security. You know, we're at a time in America where people wonder a little bit whether we can still do big things. And one thing that is extraordinarily clear from this project is big things can and do happen, and this is an incredible testimony to that. So I want to thank, and that happens, why that happens, how big things are happening is because of leadership. And the leadership that's here today, leadership that's preceded the leadership here today that delivered on this is just an extraordinary testament to how we go get this kind of major transformational work done. So I'd like to thank the Secretary of the Air Force, Secretary Kendall, Deputy Assistant Secretary Balkus, Brigadier General Kale, Brigadier General Heiger, the leadership from Terra-Gen, Mortison. I'd like to thank the leadership and the workers from the iron workers and IBEW and other unions that delivered on this project, the tribes, the communities, the off-takers, and all the leadership assembled here. It is not any one of us that makes this happen. It is that whole community of leaderships. And so the second thing I'd like to focus on too is partnership. To make the energy transition that we're in the earlier stages of getting towards the middle, we cannot do it through government alone. We cannot do it through private sector alone. It's through partnerships exactly like this. And for the urgent moment that we're in and the kind of transition we have to make, partnerships that can deliver here at this kind of scale is what we need to replicate over and over again. And so the demonstration effect of what you've done is exactly the kind of proof for Americans throughout our country to see how we deliver and how we can deliver on this transformation. And so as I move forward in the role that I play at the White House, this is a proof positive and the example that I'll be carrying with me to show how we can generate more and more of these projects. And then the third thing I'd like to address is security. What this profoundly speaks to as well as economic and national security. We're making a historic investment here to make a cleaner, safer, electric future. And with President Biden's leadership, our country's making the most significant investment ever through the bipartisan infrastructure law, through the Inflation Reduction Act, through appropriations over the last couple of years. The velocity and acceleration that we're about to experience is really in place now. And the many years of hard work that it took to build this extraordinary project shows how we can do that over and over again with the investment that's coming online. And so what you've done today and over the past few years is set a new bar for our nation, and that demonstrates a number of important points. It shows that we invest in climate solutions. We also invest in families, as we saw in the video. We invest in the communities, and we invest in our economy and secure the strong economy that we have right now. It also shows through the production of this electricity that's good for our wallets and good for our climates, as the video also showed, it's good for our everyday lives, and that means fewer blackouts. It means fewer of those cell phone alerts that tell you to turn off or reduce non-essential power so the grid doesn't overload. And most importantly, it creates hundreds and hundreds of jobs, as we also just heard, and good paying union jobs that build strong communities. So that is another critical point that the President makes on frequent occasion. When he thinks of climate, he thinks of jobs, and we're seeing that here today in really profound ways. So thank you so much to the Air Force and your leadership and all the partners in this project. Thank you for showing what happens when we invest in resilience, when we invest in climate solutions, and we invest in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayock. Our next speaker is Ms. Nancy Balkus. Ms. Balkus is Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Environment, Safety, and Infrastructure. She provides, work with me on this one, executive leadership on all matters pertaining to formulation, review, and execution of plans, policies, programs, and budgets for Air Force built and natural infrastructure, environmental, installation, energy, safety, and occupational health programs. So basically, whenever Ms. Balkus speaks, people like me pay attention. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Balkus to the podium.
Thank you, everybody. Wow, this is an impressive crowd that's been gathered here today. So first, I want to start with thanks for the kind introduction, Judd. And Andrew, thanks for your incredible remarks. You really set the stage, and I'm going to take one step further to elaborate on what both the video and what you've shared with us. I, too, want to thank all of the players that were involved in putting this project together in the initial inception of the concept, the development of it, the planning of it, the execution of it. These things don't happen in a vacuum, and it's a system of systems. You cannot do it without the collaboration across the spectrum. So I really want to thank the Air Force Civil Engineer Center, who provided the vehicle for it, Terra-Gen, who actually contracted for the work, Mortensen, the general construction contractor, the Tejon Indian Tribe of California for the collaboration, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, Brigadier General Heiger and his full team, basically the whole Edwards team. All of you came together, created incredible synergy, and you've demonstrated, in addition to the obstacles that you've overcome, just what this type of complex project can produce as an outcome. Today marks a tremendous accomplishment for the Department of Defense, the Department of the Air Force, the state of California, and her indigenous people. This ribbon-cutting celebration affects all of us, and it gives us an opportunity to shape our nation's transition into a new way of thinking about, acting on, our energy needs and our energy sources. How many of us take energy, power, or electricity for granted? We all expect that when we flip a switch, or we charge our cell phones, or we open the refrigerator, or we turn on the heating or the air conditioning, that it's just going to be there. The power's just going to work. And, as Andrew stated earlier, we've also experienced when it's not there. So what does that look like for us? This solar array and battery energy storage system represents an exciting demonstration of the innovation, ingenuity, and integration across the private sector, along with state and federal partners, so partnership, and creates a significant example of the benefit for all of the players that we've all mentioned this morning, including the surrounding communities that will benefit from the additional power that's provided to the California grid. I'd like to mention why I think this project exemplifies foundational attributes for all of us as Americans. The National Defense Strategy stipulates that we focus on safeguarding and advancing vital U.S. national interests. We work alongside other agencies and departments in 3 ways. We protect the security of the American people, all of you. We expand economic prosperity and opportunity, and we realize and defend the values that are at the heart of the American way of life. I believe reliable and renewable energy is directly linked to these vital national interests, and this solar and battery energy storage project effectively contributes to all 3 of those vital national interests. So as you were working on this project, you may not have felt like you were making America a stronger, better place to work, but I'm here to tell you, you have, and that's why I'm trying to hammer home. I also want to mention that the changing climate and severe weather that we're all experiencing, you here in California, perhaps more than most, they pose a direct risk to our national security, perhaps even our modern way of life. Climate change is reshaping the increasingly complex global security environment, and we must adapt and respond to that threat. The Office of the President, Congress, and the Department of Defense have all created policy and passed laws to increase our nation's energy resilience while ensuring that we carry out our most important mission priorities. The Secretary of the Air Force, Honorable Kendall, released our Climate Action Plan in October of 2022. It defines how we will preserve operational capability, increase resiliency, and help mitigate climate impacts through measurable objectives and key results. I'm excited to share that we've already started implementing innovative solutions to meet these goals, such as carbon-free electricity and zero-emission vehicles by fiscal years 2030 and 2035. We're also exploring alternative energy opportunities to demonstrate nuclear microreactor technology, geothermal, and wind and solar, as was in the video today. And these enhance the overall Department of the Air Force approach for our future energy initiatives. The Edwards Solar Enhanced Use Lease, the model that was used for this site, is the future for more energy-related Air Force projects. We need more efforts like this one that are a win-win-win for communities, installations, and everyone in between. This project demonstrates our commitment to work with private sector developers and installations to successfully develop and manage renewable energy. We must continue to bolster energy assurance efforts on both sides of the fence, just as this project demonstrates. To ensure we're all prepared during those extreme weather events or an external threat, we must partner together to achieve mission success. It's been truly an honor to be with you all here today. I look forward to hopefully mingling with some of you afterwards. On behalf of Mr. Ed Oshiba, the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Energy, Installations, and the Environment, I want to thank you all for your contributions to this project and for being here with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Balkas. Our next speaker today is Mr. Jim Pagano. Mr. Pagano is Chief Executive Officer at Terra-Gen LLC. Prior to joining Terra-Gen, he was president of LS Power Development, and prior to LS Power, he has worked in various capacities at several other energy-related companies. And I will tell you from personal experience working with this man, he's a great teammate. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Pagano to the podium.
Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you some facts and some information and some feelings on the Edward Sanborn Solar Project. I'd like to start with singling out some people and entities that really helped make this project a reality. First and foremost, the Air Force. Their vision to make a part of the base and the incredible solar resource that it enjoys available for the production of renewable energy obviously made this project possible. And we're grateful for that. I think it's fair to say that through the development and construction of this project, so many people at the Air Force had a hand in shepherding it through that process that it would be impossible or very time-consuming to name them all. But there are a few that I would be remiss if I didn't mention. Mr. Jim Judkins spent countless hours on working with us and trying to help us navigate through difficult issues, and we're grateful for all the commitment and time he spent with us on this project. Similarly, Ms. Deb Harkowitz at AFCEC was a constant resource to us through the development of the project. And then perhaps most importantly, of course, General Kale, General Allen, who's not with us today, as well as General Heiger. All were very supportive of the project, and we are grateful. In addition to the Air Force, I would also like to acknowledge and thank the sovereign nations of San Manuel, Band of Mission Indians, and the Tohono Indian tribe. They've entrusted with us some very significant and culturally sensitive lands, and gave us the responsibility to make sure that this project was careful with those lands as it was built out, and we did our best to do that. And we appreciate them entrusting us with that. I'd also like to thank Kern County Planning Department and the Board of Supervisors. They've worked with Terra-Gen on many projects in this area, and in particular, I'd like to acknowledge Lorelei Oviette, who has been a tremendous resource for us, and District Supervisor Zach Scrivener. A project of this type requires, or of this scale, I should say, required nearly 2 million solar panels. I'd like to thank First Solar, the nation's largest solar manufacturer, for delivering those panels on time and enabling us to build out this project on schedule. Having the panels is just one part of it, obviously. You have to install them and you have to construct the project. And I really need to acknowledge the fact that we started the construction as COVID was in full swing. And the unions mobilized aggressively a labor force to allow us to keep schedule, and we're very grateful for that. And then finally, I'd like to thank Dan Johnson, who you'll hear from momentarily, and his team at Mortensen. I cannot imagine a better partner to build out a project of this scale and this complexity. And they did so nearly flawlessly. I would say flawlessly, but I'm sure you have higher standards. At Terra-Gen, we often refer to this project as the type of project that comes along once in a career. And we say that because obviously the scale of it, but also the complexity and the contribution that it will make to our nation's goals of decarbonizing our power sector. It is a project that has done more for those objectives than any project that Terra-Gen has developed, any project that I've been associated with during the course of my 30-year career. And it's one that, even as I drive up to it today, I think, wow, how did we ever undertake this? It really is extraordinary. The project is composed of two parts. As many of you know, we refer to it as the Edward Sanborn Project. One part of it is on the Air Force Base. The other part of it is on private land. But I think it's very important to note that without the initiative and the vision that the Air Force had, and the lease that provided to us, and the anchor that it provided for this project, we would have never pursued the balance of this project. We would have never pursued the Sanborn portion. So really, that vision, that initiative is responsible for the entirety of this project. I'll give you some facts about the project just to give you a sense of its scale and the complexities. It took about $2.4 billion of capital to construct this project. 2.5 million man-hours to construct it, and and it had a number of challenges associated with it on the cultural side. About 10% of those man-hours were dedicated towards making sure that we honored those lands and the cultural heritage, as I mentioned earlier, surrounding this site. And the budget for doing that, the cost of doing that, was about $100 million. But it was well spent, and it's a source of great pride for us that we were able to maneuver through this important land. The project has contributed about $315 million in wage earnings into the local economy, and as you've already heard, it will be responsible for offsetting about 300,000 tons of carbon emissions annually. I could give you many more statistics about the project, but I think probably the thing to end with, and the most striking aspect of it, and it's been referred to already, is it's one of the best examples of collaborative development that I've ever seen. The Air Force had a vision. The county, the tribal nations worked collaboratively with us to make it a reality. The tenacity and the creativity of all involved is what we can attribute the fact that this project exists today to, that collaboration and that hard work. So thank you all for making this important project a reality.
Thank you, Mr. Pagano. Excuse me. 3 times. Our next speaker is Mr. Dan Johnson. Mr. Johnson is President and CEO of Mortensen, a commercial construction and general contracting company responsible for the construction of the Edwards Solar Project, basically everything you see here. Mr. Johnson joined Mortensen in 1986 and is responsible for executive management, strategic business planning, succession planning, resource management, and overall business leadership. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Johnson to the podium.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Mortensen, I would also like to recognize and thank the participants in this project: the Air Force, the tribal nations, the local communities, our union partners, our trade partners, our engineering partners, and of course the folks that pay our bills, Terra-Gen. Projects like EdSan are modern marvels in engineering, construction, cooperation, and collaboration. It takes a commitment from each party to make it all possible. But today, I would especially like to acknowledge the men and women in the field whose minds and muscle designed, procured, and built this facility. You know, this project has many impressive statistics, and Jim rattled off a number of them. 1.9 million solar panels, 111,000 individual batteries, 450 miles of cable and wire. Yes, I said miles. These stats are even more impressive when you consider that all of those solar panels and all of those battery modules were installed by hand in very extreme conditions. Heat, cold, wind, rain were the norm, oftentimes in the same day. I'm sure my team is looking out at the weather today thinking, man, I wish it was like that more often when we're building this project. But these stats that stand out for me more than any other are that these same skilled craft team members put in over 1 million hours of consecutive work without a recordable injury. That is an amazing statistic. For Mortensen, this project marks an important milestone in our history. Our renewable energy construction story started in 1995 when we erected one wind turbine in Adair, Iowa. As our wind customers expanded into solar, so did we, constructing our first utility-scale solar project in 2009. And then more recently, battery storage came on the scene. Through the years, we formed a team of dedicated individuals to building these impressive and important renewable energy projects. Experts that travel every week to project sites. Experts who move to new locations every year or so. Over 200 of these experts traveled to or relocated to Kern County and made this community their home for the past 2 years. It's through their expertise and their sacrifice that projects like this are possible. And today, I want to say thank you to them. Thank you. Mortenson's purpose is building for the greater good. And it's hard to imagine for me that there's a better example of that purpose than right here at the Ed Sand Solar and Battery Storage Project in Kern County, California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Our closing speaker this afternoon is Brigadier General William Cale. General Cale commands the Air Force Civil Engineers Center at Lackland Air Force Base. He leads a 2,200-person organization responsible for providing flexible full-spectrum installation engineering services that include facility investment planning, design and construction, operation support, real property management and oversight, energy support, environmental compliance and restoration, and readiness and emergency management. Again, basically, when General Cale speaks, people like me pay attention. Please join me in welcoming General Cale to the podium.
All right. So, good afternoon, distinguished visitors, ladies and gentlemen. And more importantly, happy Groundhog's Day. All right, how many folks think we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter? Anyone know? Yeah, and that's what Phil said. That's right. You got that. So thank God this project's done and we don't have to deal with what Phil said. Well, they say they saved the best for last. But unfortunately for you all, after having a video and 4 speakers in front of me, I don't know what much is there else to say. So I will do my best to make sure you're not reliving Groundhog Day again up here. So, first off, only in America do we find a reason to have a celebration 5 miles from civilization. But I will tell you, this celebration would not be possible without the support of the 412th Test Wing and the Civil Engineer Group here. So I personally want to thank General Heiger, Judd Jenkins, the team here. They were our eyes and ears every single day here. You know, their blood, sweat, and tears overseeing this project to make sure that it would come to the finish line is hugely important. With my thank you, though, I bring a challenge to you. I ask that, you know, from the fruits of this project, that you all make sure that you use those to enhance your mission and, more importantly, enhance the quality of life of our airmen and family here, and I know you will do so. Second, only in America can we take barren land and then embrace the power of the sun and then push that out to power America. This project here, just in general terms, can fuel the homes of about 500,000 families. That is pretty phenomenal in my mind there. And I want to thank Terra-Gen and Mortenson for making this happen. This is, I mean, you all said all the statistics and numbers, and that safety record is pretty phenomenal. I wish I could replicate that with every company that we deal with, but unfortunately I can't say we do that. It's definitely a lot of work, and I know personally from doing construction myself, it's not easy to take barren ground and create something like this of an engineering marvel. But with my thanks also comes a challenge to you all. This is, in my opinion, really just the start of this project. This project's going to go on for decades. It needs to be operated and it needs to be sustained, and I challenge you to make sure that that's done to ensure that we do have power for our communities. So thank you. The third point I'd like to make is only in America a project like this is actually pays attention to the natural and cultural resources that we have here. The Air Force is a part of this community here. We care about the natural and cultural resources that are here. And I want to thank the sovereign nations, the community, the county, the state for helping us work through this. And with that, I offer you a challenge from my thanks. I challenge you to make sure that we uphold the commitments that we make. I ask that you make sure that we set the example, for the community. But I also ask, for your help to continue working with us on future projects, and more importantly, to continue to find ways that you can help our installation here and our airmen and their families. And my fourth and final point, only in America, no good deed goes unpunished. And so I offer my last thanks to my Air Force team, my Air Force Civil Engineer team, Mr. Dom, Ded Harkowitz, all the folks back in AFCEC making this happen, our legal team, the general counsel there, the Secretariat for empowering us to do this. It took a lot of effort to get to where we're at here. These deals take a long time to come to fruition, and I thank the steadfastness that you took to get us to here. My challenge to you as a team, this too is also only the start. You have proven what we can do, and I expect more. And I want it faster, and I want it cheaper. The Air Force needs resiliency, reliability, and readiness with our energy systems. We must enhance our mission assurance, and we can't do it without energy assurance. I don't care if it's a small modular reactor that we put up in Alaska, geothermal in Wyoming, solar power in New Jersey, or wind power in Massachusetts. Any medium, anywhere in between, I expect us to get after it in order us to make sure that we can defend our country and keep our way of life. So that's pretty much all I have to say here. I really appreciate everyone putting this ceremony together. Really take time to reflect and see all the great work that was done. Take time to understand the significance of this project here and what it can lead to. And hopefully what I see from here is this is just a spark that creates a fire to set ablaze across America. Thank you.
Thank you, General Kale, and challenge accepted. Do y'all remember one of the first things I said at the beginning about no plan? Okay, here's the audible. Y'all have a brochure in your chairs, and I need to phone a friend for someone who can explain what it is and why we did it more eloquently than I. So please raise your hand. Andrea, you're out there somewhere. Help me, help me. Okay, thank you. Do you need a mic? No, let's get her a mic.
Thank you, sir. I don't use mics very much, so I hope this thing doesn't reverberate. I'm sitting next to Alexandra McCleary, who represents the Uhaviatam Band of Mission Indians. And somewhere here, Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Hernandez, could you wave your hands? The Tejon Indian tribe is here with us. These two tribes worked with us from the beginning of the planning process. They dug deep and helped us understand the importance of the resources here. Why their ancestors might have been here and why we should value this thousands of year history. The booklet that you have is an outcome of all of our negotiations and work. It's a requirement from the planning process, but more than that, the desire for this booklet is so that all of the kids who might visit Edwards Air Force Base understand that the tribes are still here. They were here thousands of years ago, 5,000, 10,000 years ago, and they're still here. This is a way of teaching the future that these ancient communities are alive and well and thriving, and we're active participants in this blend of renewable energy, technology, the future, and also honoring the past. So that's what you're holding in your hands.
Thank you, Andrea. So now for the grand finale. Ms. Balkis, Brigadier General Higer, Brigadier General Kale, Mr. Pagano, and Mr. Johnson, please come forward and prepare to cut the ribbon. Come on, come on, come on.
We'll do a few where we're closing with the scissors open, and then after the photographers get their things, we'll snip. Okay, is everybody ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, snip!
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the ceremony. Please enjoy the snacks, take a look at the storyboards, and the buses should begin to be departing in about 10 minutes.